basically about an iPhone that's telling you, like, oh, yeah, here's your monitor. I think this one's you, this first one. Yeah.
Okay.
It's about, like, an iPhone that, like, an app developer downloads that he starts kind of following.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the more he follows it, the better his life becomes. But, like, he turns it off, and then, like, his life kind of falls apart. Like, the more he gets from it, the more it takes away from him, kind of thing.
I got you.
So it's one of those kind of movies.
All right, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I ain't got no problem with that.
Yeah, that's I Lived.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Just telling Joe DeRosa about the I Lived poster hanging in my in my living room.
Are we rolling?
We're rolling, man.
Oh shit! Okay, I didn't know.
Sometimes I just organically just go for it.
That's fine with me.
Right?
Yeah. No. How long does this go?
Like an hour.
Okay, because I have a hard time living in the moment.
What a great preface to a podcast. Like, as soon as he gets here as a guest. By the way, not a real in the moment guy. I'm not really sure what the theme of this show is, but the little riffs and stuff like that, we'll see. I might get a little tuned out at points. real quick.
No, but I asked you to do this.
I know.
Because you're my friend.
Yeah.
You're one of the only people I'd want to sit through a podcast with.
You hear that, guys? You know what? I've actually... I love having you as a guest on Kill Tony, and we haven't had you as a guest on in a long time.
It's funny, in the same day I think it was, I told you, Brian, Moses for Roast Battle, and Tony for Kill Tony that I wanted to come back to and do the shows. I was like, I haven't been around.
Well, I saw you at Jeff's on over the weekend, and I was like, dude, what's up? Yeah.
I was like, I got to start getting, like, I'm trying to stay in town more and not be out there traveling as much. And I was like, now's a good time to start popping around some friends' podcasts and shows and things again.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's if you go on the road too much, people forget that you're available in town.
Yeah,
and that's I've been on the road a little bit more with Tony this year, and I've gone through that a little bit of times where I kind of got to go back around places and hang out and be like, yo, I'm freaking around. Like, I want to be here.
Yeah.
It's like part of,
Yeah, exactly.
Part of it. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, I got that a couple times recently. Someone was like, wait, you live here? I'm like, oh, Jesus. Yeah, I live here. But I'll hermit it up, Like I'm on the east. That's one of the reasons I kind of wish I lived a little further west. I live on the east side, and it's kind of its own thing over there. And when you don't have
its own community and everything, yeah,
when you don't have to leave, you don't leave, and then you end up just hanging out on the east side all the time.
Well, you get comfortable. It's the same thing. I mean, I was talking with Dave Ross about this. The last episode is, he's on the east side, and he doesn't make his way over here that much, and I'm trying to go over that way a little bit more, kind of meet in the middle,
Yeah, I gotta. Maybe Dave and I will come over together.
Yeah, start carpooling over.
Yeah, well, I got rid of my car, which has been really way harder than I thought it was going to be.
Dude, for LA, I would imagine. Because I like having, I have an old car, but I like having the luxury of being able to hop in it at any moment's notice without. So did you Uber here today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the guy didn't know what the fuck he was doing, which keeps happening more and more now with the ride shares.
Dude, I think that the bar keeps getting lowered for who can drive.
I don't even get it. I look, I'm not one of these assholes that's like, speak English or go home. I'm not one of those guys.
Hey man, what are you doing in this country, dude?
So if you don't speak English, that's great, but I really do think the company should alert you. Like, just so you know, this driver does not speak English. So if that's the only language you speak, you should probably not get into this car because you're going to have some issues.
Some difficulties like on the drop-off.
Yeah.
They do that with if somebody is hearing impaired. Why can't they do it with that?
I just think that's like so crazy to me that like they wouldn't, because I've been in situations where it's like that we can't communicate. And I'm like, dude, I'm not mad that you don't speak English. I'm mad that the company didn't tell. I mean, I'm not yelling at the person. I just mean like internally.
You're like shaking, choking them.
Yeah.
Why don't you speak English? What are you doing, man?
Yeah, it's not fair. Today the guy was like, I don't know what happened. And because we like got off and onto the highway like 3 times. And I was
it was like a GPS issue or something.
Yeah.
He just like was following it like, direction by direction, super close.
And I go, dude, are we just going in circles here? And he just goes, okay, like that. And I'm like, are we? And I've been in like in a situation where I'd be like, buddy, you got to stop the trip. Like you've driven 2 miles out of the way right now.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm getting charged for it. You have to cut this off at some point.
Yeah.
And the guy will be like, literally, like I've had a guy be like, I don't speak English. Like that's like the one sentence he could say. And I'm like,
Yikes.
well, that just doesn't seem fair.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden you're hostage in somebody else's Uber.
Yeah. Like what am I supposed to do? Like a barrel roll out of the car as it's still moving to escape or whatever. It just seems odd.
Taken 9.
Yeah.
The ride share. Where are you? Tell me exactly.
Yeah, man. So anyway, yeah, but I'm trying. Actually, if anybody out there listening has this available, I am trying to buy a car, but I want to just buy.
Sometimes we use Jeremiah Wonders just like a Craigslist ad. Sometimes, you know what? If you have a car in the Los Angeles area, Joe DeRosa. Maybe you don't know him, but you have a reasonably priced car. What kind of model are you looking for? Let's just do a car sale right here.
Dude, I'm literally just trying to buy like something for $2 or $3 grand.
He's looking
that
for
I could just buy outright.
$2 or $3 grand. He doesn't want it to drip oil if possible. It could have a lot of miles on it as long as it's dependable. He wants to just get around Los Angeles.
That's it. Point A to point B. What do you got, people?
What do you got? I got my car is too old for Uber or Lyft. Like whenever I've like looked in the past where I'm like, do I need to start you have your down, you have your upswings in LA and you have your down swings, and during one of the down swings I looked up, I was like, can I even drive Uber? And then I looked and I was like, this is another ego check. I can't even qualify my car tool. But I was like, I took that as a sign. I was like, sure, I'm not supposed to be doing it. Keep on that hustle.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That's tough. Yeah, I agree. So hey, you never had to do it.
I didn't. No, I've been fortunate. I've been doing comedy full time since 2012.
Okay.
So like I stopped working Starbucks the end of 2011, and then I've been doing comedy full time, like paying my bills through comedy since 2012.
That's great. It's a nice feeling when that happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it is ups and downs.
Yeah. Now that's the whistle of a man who has had a lot of ups and downs.
It's tough, man. It's fucking tough.
What's like do you have like a down moment that comes to mind whenever we're mentioning ups and downs like in comedy? Do you have a couple that that's kind of highlighted like right away? You're like, oh, that was a rough one.
I mean, there have been many, but I was just talking to Jay Larson today.
I love Jay.
Me too.
Former guest on Jeremiah Wonders.
I love him. But I mentioned this to him, and he was like, what? But I was like, yeah, dude, I lost 2 pilots in the last 3 years. And I don't mean 2 pilots that like we made it and it didn't get picked up. I mean, like, I, with some other comedians, sold 2 different TV shows to 2 different networks. And we never even got to shoot the pilot because there were so many like moving parts that in the negotiation process, like things just broke down. So I literally twice in the last 3 years have gone from calls with my reps being like, congrats, they want to make a pilot. You sold the show, to 4 months later, they're going to just pull the plug. You're not going to see dime one for this. And it's just not going to work out. Like those 2 were pretty rough.
So, of course, that's like extremely hard to hear. When that happens, was it at a point where they cut any kind of check, or was it literally stringing along for like 4 months?
I won't say that they strung us along, but because I don't think that's what happened. But when they can't, here's the thing: if you sell a project with 5 people, for example, or even just one other person or 2 or whatever. Doesn't matter what the number is. If one of those person's deals doesn't work out, the whole thing can go away.
Ooh.
Because they're like, look, we bought this, which involved you. And if that's not what we get, then we have the opportunity to to say no to the whole thing. And then you start to get into some really hairy territory because there's always the person that they're going to negotiate with a little bit differently, and because for whatever reasons, they have a little higher profile or
their reps or whatever.
Their reps, whatever it is. So
closer connection, whatever it is.
It's a real. That was a real. That was a really, really tough. Okay, so that happened, and in the year that seemingly sort of connected those two things, in between, or year and a half in between, that connected those two things. Those bookended me losing a manager that I was very close with at the time, and me also booking a CBS 6 multicam, and then after the pilot shot and it got picked up, 2 weeks before the first table read, being told, we're cutting your character because we don't think it's likable. The character's like, so dude, it was just like, that was like I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I was at a point where I was like, well, this is it. Like when I came to LA, I was like, give me your worst, motherfuckers. Like show me what the darkest corners of this place are because I need to know so I'm aware that I can deal with it. And they certainly did, man. So I'm on an upswing now, which is great. But I mean, LA was like, why don't you come over here and we'll show you what the fuck pain is. By the way, you don't get paid to do any stand-up sets in town, and you're going to get up about twice a month to boot. Just to put the icing on the cake. Remember how you were in New York? You could make like $600 a week doing stand-up, all the spots you ever wanted to do. Yeah, that's gone too. So just enjoy yourself. Sit in that apartment of yours, really think about what you did with your life. You don't have a car.
One of the last times we did a podcast or something together, or I was at a party with you, the dog sitter at your place had let the dog out, and it was like your dog was gone or something like that.
Yes. That was a while ago.
That was a long while ago. I don't know why that sticks out to me, but you were very upset.
It was Jeff Ross and friends at the Improv.
Yeah. Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, and it was me and you and Jeff and Seth Herzog.
Yep.
And I had to leave, because the dog walker called me and said that my dog ran out of the house and he couldn't find him. And I went home and I did a whole, making the flyers. It was me and Aaron Darling, my friend Aaron, came over to help me.
I love Aaron,
a couple other people came over.
How did you end up finding the dog?
Camilla Cleese.
Yeah.
And we made like flyers and all that shit. And I remember I was with them and I just kept drinking whiskey because I felt like I was going to cry. And I didn't want to cry in front of them.
Just I'm good.
Yeah. So we put all these flyers out and we couldn't find him. And then the dog walker's story completely contradicted. The one he told me completely contradicted the one he told his boss.
Ooh.
So the company gave me this huge credit for walkers, like on my account.
You're great. I have this credit and I don't have a dog to freaking spin it on. Great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
So, and I wasn't too thrilled about using the company again, but it ended up being okay. But at like, excuse me, at like 2:00 in the morning or 3:00 in the morning, I heard a noise outside my front door, and I lived in a first floor apartment where my front door was accessible, just from the street. And I heard a noise at my front door, and I was like, that's nothing, I think I'm just hearing things. And then, like, just to be safe, I was like, let me just go check, make sure nobody's out there. And
so you're the guy in the horror movie.
That what?
That goes to check on the noise.
Yeah. And then gets his dog back. My dog was standing there.
He was just standing on the porch.
It was on my stoop alone. Wow. And I was like, that guy kidnapped my fucking dog. I'm like, his stories didn't line up. My dog would never run out of the house. My dog defends the apartment like to an annoying.
Yeah.
Like he never lets up. Like,
you have a cute dog, right?
Yeah, he's very cute.
Yeah.
I was like, he took the dog and then realized he was going to get pinched and like came back, left it on my stoop, knocked and like ran. And I'm like, because there's no way the dog can make a loud enough noise.
Weird.
Unless somebody found him and just brought him and was like, hey, man,
ding dong ditch your house. They didn't want to interact with.
But yeah. So,
Old man DeRosa.
Yeah,
Don't come around here. Yeah. He gets really angry.
Yeah, exactly. But he's good now. He's alive.
Heck yeah.
Found. But that was, that was 2 years ago.
I don't know why that stuck. I think it was because you were, alarmed. It's like I don't know why that memory sticks out. Anyway.
It sucked.
I haven't done this segment on this show in a long time, but you know what? We had pizza right before this, so I'd like to welcome everybody back to Pizza Party.
Ooh.
Pizza time for a pizza party.
We just enjoyed some great pizza from Joe's Pizza.
Yeah. Is that the same Joe's from New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Held up on the trip out here.
Now, you're an East Coast guy, correct?
Yeah.
What are your spots?
For pizza?
For pizza. For Mexican. Tell me right now.
Well, or for Mexican pizza.
I mean,
then I'm going to say Taco Bell.
There's some taco pizza out there that's really good.
In New York or Philly?
Ooh. Let's go Philly first.
Well, I have three.
Okay.
I'll do New York, Jersey, and Philly. Jersey.
Ooh, I love this.
My parents live in Jersey now, South Jersey. We always go to a place called Upper Crust, which is pretty great. Their hoagies are awesome. Their pizza's awesome. Their cheesesteaks are awesome. Upper Crust in South Jersey.
Do you like gyms?
I thought you meant like exercise. I was like, no.
No, we're talking about pizza. They're Philly. Cheesesteak.
Oh, Jim's on South Street.
Yeah. That was my first introduction to a legit Philly place.
They're probably my favorite cheesesteak place.
It's really good.
I also really just love the experience of going to Pat's and Gino's, even though those are like the sort of more touristy ones. Their steaks are solid, and like particularly Pat's has amazing cheese fries.
Mm.
So I like going over there too. But Jim's is probably my favorite. But pizza in Philly, excuse me.
We did eat pizza right before this, so there you go.
Yeah. Shit, man. You know what? I'm having a hard time thinking of a pizza place in Philly. I'm more familiar with sandwich spots I go to.
Okay.
But then New York.
Yeah, what about New York?
I like Joe's a lot. There's a place, and of course I can't remember the name of the, God damn it. It's out in Brooklyn. It's like a famous, it's been on like the Food Network and shit.
Yeah.
They have this pizza. It's square pizza, but the crust isn't super thick like most Sicilian pizza, and there's sauce above and below the cheese.
Ooh,
and it's amazing. What is that place called though? But it's way out in Brooklyn. Anyway, that's a good place.
Okay.
If you can, I like most authentic pizza places. I don't like even like.
What do you think of all those dollar spots in New York? Will you eat at them, or will you be like, no, absolutely not?
I won't eat it, not because I'm above it. Like, I love fast food. I love street food.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it. They just don't taste good to me. It tastes like freezery. Like, you can tell it was frozen.
Right.
And it doesn't even taste like good store-bought freezer pizza. It tastes like it always has a flavor to it, like it had been in the freezer for too long. So that's the only reason why I don't like those spots. But as far as dollar food goes in New York, like, I'll fuck up Papaya Dog or any one of those places. I love that shit. I love my favorite tacos in LA to get are the ones where the guy literally has like the grill on the sidewalk.
Oh yeah.
I love that shit.
A lot of those I've had a lot of those like kebab food trucks and stuff like that out in New York. Those are like some like the halal and different stuff like that. It's amazing. So good.
It's amazing. Austin has a really killer food truck scene.
Oh, dude, Austin and Portland.
Yeah, and I feel like Austin. I can't speak for Portland, but I felt like Austin was the first. Like there were lunch trucks in Philly but it wasn't a scene. It was just like lunch trucks were just a thing in Philly. They still are. Austin, I felt like, was the first place I had seen that turned it into like this scene of like gourmet food trucks.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, where they had like, you know, there are parks that you can go to where it's like 7 trucks all set.
I had Rich Slayton introduce me to a kimchi burrito in Austin. It's like this Korean Mexican fusion, and it was pretty good for like it's a little out there, but
right,
like,
sure,
it tastes good.
Yeah, I miss. I used to live in Austin. I really miss Austin.
Austin, I like the comedy scene there a lot.
I love the comedy scene. I love the food. I love the vibe. I love the bars. I fucking love Austin. I hope to live there again one day. If it ever makes sense, you know, professionally to live back in Texas, but and not have to come here maybe ever again. But who knows? No, but it just doesn't make sense right now. But I love Austin.
Do you does part of you want to live back in New York, or are you kind of over New York now?
I'm not over it at all. I love New York. I miss New York. I would love to live there again. I would love to live in Philly again.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that I don't like my time here. I just don't like being this immersed in the industry all the time, you know? And I always say to people, look, when I bitch about LA, I'm not bitching about LA. I'm bitching about the Hollywood scene, you know, because it's all that I ever experience out here. And it's not something I particularly like being, you know, engulfed by or whatever. So, like, you know, I've even thought, like, well, maybe I could just move down to, like, Venice.
Yeah.
And just kind of get out of this for a little, you know,
sure,
a little bit every week.
Did you start comedy in Philly or New York, or
Philly?
Like in Philly?
Yeah.
Who were some of your guys who were like you're coming up with like your class, quote unquote?
Well, I was a little behind. Kevin Hart, Jay Okerson, and Kurt Metzger started a couple of years before me, but I quickly got to know those guys. You know, Jay and Kurt and I are still very close friends. I'm friendly with Kevin. I don't know him in the way that his actual friends know. My mentor was this guy Ture Gordon, who and the legendary Wid, who was Wid's the first ever prop comic. And Ture is a guy that I think he's Philly based, but you know he goes up to New York, and you know he's been on a lot of TV stuff, whatever. And he's a really, really good friend of mine. And he kind of taught me everything I know, and that was the crew for me. Mike Vecchione and Rocco Stowe were the other two sort of contemporaries that I actually was like going through open mics with. Richie Redding. That's kind of it, man. You know, everybody quit.
Tight-knit crew?
No, it was the crew was much bigger then.
And it just slowly.
Everybody quit.
Wow.
You know, so everybody quit. I remember talking to Mike Vecchione in a parking lot of a pool hall gig that I went back to Philly to do from New York. And I remember him sitting in my car and telling me, like, I'm going to move up to New York. Like, I think you did the right thing. And at the time I was like, yeah, I hope so, dude. It's fucking tough, though. Because I was so broke, obviously. I was driving back to Philly to do pool hall gigs. So it's like, you know, and then Richie came up a couple of years later. Rocco went right to, no, he came to New York for a little while. And then he went to LA fairly quickly. So we kind of reconnected once I was out here. But
I did a lot of late night spots with Rocco for years at the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, so, but that was it. Everybody else kind of quit, you know? And it's that classic story of, like, you know, that Jay Leno and I think Seinfeld and a million other guys have told, which is like, I wasn't the best out of everybody I started with.
Kept doing it.
I just kept doing it. Like, I had friends that were so good at it immediately. They had such an organic knack for joke writing and for stand-up, and they quit, you know? They quit. That was it.
Wow.
You know? Yeah. Well, I can't tell if that was a real wow or not. Or if that was...
Wow. It's more of an Owen Wilson wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Wow, Joe. Wow. Can't believe we're here with Joe DeRosa right now.
Is this a new impression, or have you been doing?
No, I've
this
been doing Owen Wilson. Like I do it sometimes on stage. I'll do it on this podcast occasionally.
That's nice.
You never. Do you do any impressions?
Not really, not anymore. I used to have a couple. I lost them.
I'm like literally like as a podcast host, like trying to find like little things here and there, and Joe's like, "Nah, man, no, just just living now. Yeah, everybody else quit, so I'm still here. If they wouldn't have quit, Jeremiah, they'd be on your podcast right now. But
they probably would be.
But I'm here with you today, and what are some of the impressions that you lost? Because guess what? We're gonna resurrect one right now.
I can't do any of them anymore, but I used to do Tom Waits, his speaking voice. I used to do that. I had a kind of a Sam Rockwell for a minute, and then I lost that. That's about it.
You can do a. You know what? I think that Ray Romano is calling in right now to the show.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Ray. Is that you?
Yeah.
Hello, Ray.
Hi, Ray. Hi, Jeremiah. It's Ray.
Ray, you don't quite sound like yourself, Ray.
I'm a little sick.
I mean, I guess you sound whenever you're sick, you sound a lot like a comedian. He used to be.
Joe DeRosa. I know. I hear it all the time.
Do you get that a lot?
I don't know who the fuck he is, but yeah, I get it all
You
the time.
do get it a lot. Okay. Well, I've enjoyed some of your recent movies that you've been in, Ray.
Thanks. So, I don't know why I called in.
I'm starting to wonder why you called in too. Well, thanks.
Let's take it easy.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Wow, he's short.
Man, that guy's not much of a yes-ander. You know what I mean? That guy's
I heard that about Ray Romano.
yeah, he's just he's kind of set in his ways. It sounds
Yeah,
like. It sounds like he didn't even want to be calling in.
Patricia Heaton would always complain in the press about that.
Yeah.
He's selfish, she'd say. He's selfish on set. He doesn't yes and. Kidding. She never said that. Just in case that's somehow slanderous.
So
slanderous.
we talked. We started talking about this suspense thriller film that I was in, and like the horror genre. You're into horror movies and stuff like that. You
Very much so.
You talk a lot about it and stuff on different podcasts. And stuff
Well,
like
I have Pat Walsh and I have a horror podcast called "We'll See You in Hell," and we review horror, sci-fi, and fantasy films.
Okay, well, perfect. So let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
I'm curious where you stand with a couple different horror movies, because then I'll get a sensibility of what you're privy to, what you like, you know?
Okay.
What did you think? Do you like the Insidious movies?
I like the first two.
Okay.
The third one is, tolerable. The fourth one is god-awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the first one is, I think, a masterpiece. But the other ones just don't quite live up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was impressed how they tied stuff together in the second one.
I thought that was cool, too.
I thought that was really cool. But then I felt like it was forced in the third and fourth. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, guys, the device that you used that made it so special, I was like, why are you like, I don't know. It was just, that felt just more like the money thing coming in, where they're like, we can make more money off of this franchise.
I agree, particularly with the fourth one. I was like, this is just getting ridiculous.
That one, yeah.
And now they're making a fifth one. And
Are they?
Oh, God.
I mean, I'll watch it, but that's the problem. It's like,
yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, I'll go. I mean, all right. It's, it's out. I'll go see it.
are you a zombie movie guy? Are you more into slasher? What's your favorite genre subgenre within horror?
Supernatural. Anything supernatural with monsters I really like.
Okay.
Zombies are, I just have kind of had my fill at this point.
Yeah.
There are some older zombie films I still truly love that I will always love. I'm not at this point going to get excited anytime any new zombie movie comes out. I've seen enough zombie movies.
Yeah.
And until they start doing a different, I don't know how different the take can get, because I feel like you can sort of play with the mythology of a werewolf or a demon or even a vampire a bit, and the setting and the story.
Did you like those Underworld movies? Any
Yeah,
of
they're
those that
pretty
came
cool.
out?
Yeah, they're
I like.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider them horror movies. I mean, they're more
Yeah,
fantasy.
more
to me.
fantasy. Yeah.
I'm a big Michael Sheen fan.
Okay.
I actually got to meet him and hang out with him a little bit.
What was that like?
He was really nice. He came to the Comedy Jam with Sarah Silverman. And he saw me sing Spirit of Radio by Rush, and he was excited because he really likes the song. And then we hung out and talked a little bit.
Yeah, you just bonded instantly over Rush. You're like, thank you, Rush.
And I never once brought up his movies, which I
See-
feel like he probably appreciated.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm like just kind of talking to this guy, you know?
I met the guy. This was extremely random, but I met I forget. What's his name is escaping me right now. The original guy who played Jason, like behind the mask in those movies, Jason Voorhees. I met him on the Impractical Jokers cruise. He came and he was watching like some of the Comedy Jam shows and stuff like that.
Right.
So Johnny Scortis is like, he's a big horror fan as well, and he's like, we gotta take a picture. We gotta take a picture. So we take a picture with him, and it's so funny. Like, you look at the picture, and I don't know what was going on with the lighting or whatever, but whenever the picture was taken, a stream of light went across like his eye, and it looked like an eye coming out through a mask, and it's just like me and Johnny
that's so
smiling
cool.
big, and he's just like intensely looking
That's so
into
cool.
the lens.
And it wasn't Kane Hodder. It was the first guy.
It was the first guy.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
I'm sure. So is Kane Hodder.
Yeah. I think he was like 6'5". I'm like 6'3". He was like 6'5" or 6'6".
Yeah, and the fans were pissed when they didn't use Kane Hodder in Freddy vs. Jason, and I think the reason was they wanted an even taller Jason,
more imposing
yeah, it's
figure,
just
I
like
guess.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah, how much
big
bigger
do
you
need
gotta
to-
get?
Yeah. So anyway,
Do you like all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies and the Jason movies? Or Hellraiser? I've seen most of those as well.
I like Hellraiser 1, 2, and 4. I think the other ones are all pretty anywhere from bad to atrocious.
Yeah.
I think I think every other Friday the 13th is usually pretty good.
Have you seen the new Halloween movie? I've
Yeah.
heard. Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. Halloween H2O is a much better version of what they were trying to do. It just, I said this before I went into the theater. I was like, the fact that they are going now, that they're retconning it now to make it a continuation of the first movie, and they are taking out the fact that they're related, and even though John Carpenter didn't want to put that detail in the movie and always thought it was stupid or whatever, I was like, I'm sorry. My belief of this story is not as strong now. It makes more sense to me that she's the one that got away in his family,
Right.
and now he's coming back to kill her. That makes way more sense to me than just, I was in this encounter, it was awful, it was 40 years ago, and for 40 years I've been training in my house like a
Home
mercenary, or yeah, whatever. And it's like, I just didn't, or militia type, excuse me. And I was like, I thought it was a good take. I thought it was an interesting take.
Yeah.
I liked that they kind of did the Me Too thing where they were like, here's a woman that was traumatized and nobody believes her, but then she's right. I thought that was really interesting. But the movie itself to me was a rehashing of all the cool stuff they had already done in H2O that they now had to do differently. So it just wasn't as interesting.
They
to me.
did a weird timeline thing with some of the X-Men movies that came out where it's the same thing where like, okay, if this happens, you're discrediting like 4 other movies
Right.
with this new timeline or whatever.
Yeah, they kind of never addressed that Dr. or Professor X dies in part 3.
Yeah.
They just kind of never addressed it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I guess he's still alive.
Yeah.
And like Magneto got his powers back, I guess, or whatever, So, but I mean, it's I don't know, man. It's H2O has so much more character progression in it. It's to me a more believable and grounded story. Like, what would this person do if they were running from this? Oh, she would move to another place and change her name and barely be holding her shit together.
Yeah.
But managing to hold it together. And she'd be an alcoholic and all this shit, and I was like, that's just such, to me, is a much more believable version of it. And then there's this key moment, spoiler alert, in Halloween H2O where she works at this school, and Michael comes to the school and finds her, and they live on the campus. It's like a boarding school.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a key moment in the movie where she shuts the gates to the school and she breaks the gate opening, the button, whatever the control is for the gate, so it can't be opened. And she purposefully traps herself in with Michael and then starts hunting him and screaming for him. And it plays like the Halloween theme. And it's this huge fucking moment where this character who's been running her whole life goes, fuck this, now I'm going to be the hunter. And it's so much more rewarding to see that happen on screen than it is before you start the movie. And it just starts with this gray-haired lady being like, he broke out, I have to kill him. You know, like, everybody's like, calm down, grandmom. And also, too, that, you know, the new movie, it's like, you know, how does he get out? It's like the exact same way he gets out in the first movie, which is like they escape from the asylum. And the way they do it in this one is they're doing a transfer from him from one facility to another. And they transfer him, for some reason, on Halloween. You know, it's like little shit like that to me is like, you know. Whereas H2O does it, he's out. You don't know how the fuck he got out. He's just out.
Yeah.
And he's out before Halloween, and he ransacks the nurse from the first film's house. And then you find out why he ransacked it was because she was taking care of Dr. Loomis and all of the files on Michael Myers and Laurie Strode in that house. So she comes home and the room is ransacked and the files are. So it's like you get to see a little bit of like, well, how did he even find her?
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know. It's a fun watch. I mean, compared to Halloween 4, 5, 6. And then the Rob Zombie ones, it's a fucking masterpiece.
Oh, dude, the Rob Zombie one I saw in theaters whenever that came out, and I was like, I think I was still living in Kansas when that came out. I was like angry at that movie. It
terrible.
was so bad. But so on the subject of horror movies, what were some horror movies that you saw growing up that instantly made you basically become a fan of the genre, that you were like, whoa, that movie, like right away, like this is like,
sure,
you know?
I was always attracted to monsters from a younger age, but Nightmare on Elm Street was, I always call it my gateway movie.
Mm-hmm.
My mom showed me Nightmare on Elm Street when I was, 11 or 10 or something, and I that was it. I was off to the races.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with Freddy. It was fun getting to experience that whole thing. It was fun getting to experience the pop culture phenomenon of Freddy Krueger, because it was as big as a band or a superhero or anything like that. So that was very cool. But that's the one. That's the one that set me off. I saw that, but way before I ever saw any of the Halloweens or Friday the 13th or anything. And the reason I always liked Freddy the best was because I liked that it had a supernatural quality. Even Jason is supposed to sort of be human.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like he's human, but he's brought back from hell, kind of. Depending on which one you're.
That's much later.
Yeah.
But up until part 6, Jason is a normal human being that is gross because he's lived in the forest forever or whatever. 6 is when he gets struck by lightning and he's brought back to life, and then it's technically a zombie at that point, So, but I liked that Freddy was just this weird, demonic like entity, and you didn't understand like how he was able to do this or not. They explained it in part 6, and it's fucking stupid. But the Wes Craven take on it was the mystery of not knowing. Anything's better when you don't know a little bit. You shouldn't know everything.
Yeah. Well, that's what got me so much with like the movie Insidious. Whenever I didn't know too much about astral projection or some like the sleep paralysis stuff and the different stuff that it covers within that movie.
Right.
That I was like, this is fascinating.
Right.
Like that was something that like drew me to that movie, that I was like, this is really cool.
Well, also too, it's like, but I guess I'm saying it more in the sense. I agree with you with that take of it, but I guess I'm saying it more in the sense of when everything isn't explained, it's just better. Everybody's like The Matrix 1 is a classic, and the second two sequels are terrible. It's like, yeah, because they explained too much. Nobody needed to go to the city where they all live with their heads plugged in. Nobody needed to see it.
Yeah,
you didn't need to see it. And once they started kind of explaining, and this is the architect,
trying to deconstruct too much.
Like, oh God, who cares? So the early Freddy movies are so much cooler because you know what his motivations are, but you don't know how he got there, and that's pretty cool. Hellraiser is the same thing. These things come through this dimensional doorway, and you're like, what the fuck are these things? And you just know enough. You know enough. They're clearly from hell, and they're here to do terrible shit to me or whatever, Whereas in the third one, they do the whole Pinhead splits into two personalities, and his human side is instructing the hero how to beat Pinhead, and you're like, oh, get the fuck out of here, man. This is stupid, So
is Hellraiser calling in right now? What?
I think so.
Hello.
Hey, man.
What's in the box? Where is the box?
You don't need the box. I would have to open it for you to be here.
I would like to control the box as well.
You don't get to. That's not how it works.
Oh, why can't I have my cake and eat it too?
You would have no reason to control the box.
Please explain.
You're an indifferent judge from hell, and you only come through the portal to torture the people that request the pain from you.
Oh, why can't I control?
You can't be biased. You're like a Supreme Court judge.
Yeah, but some judges are kind of dirty a little bit sometimes.
Even hell is above that.
Even hell is above
Even
that?
hell is above that.
Really? Mm-hmm. Can we tell that to some of the people on our Supreme Court?
Oh my God, this is turning into a Doonesbury sketch.
Yes, it is. Joe, what do you want for Christmas this year?
I would really like a Xbox One X.
Did you say Xbox?
Yeah, I did. I didn't even.
You didn't even realize that
No.
I hold power over Xbox One X's as well.
Very good, man. See, this is why you're good at this kind of shit. I'm not.
I will deliver you, but you might have to bear the pain of others if I deliver the box.
I don't want it then.
There might be hooks and chains.
I'd rather not have it.
Gadgets and different clocks that go inside your body.
I don't need it. Never mind. I'm good.
No, I will deliver it to you. You have requested it, therefore, Hellraiser shall deliver. Pinhead out.
Wow, I can't believe the reach of this podcast, the depths of hell. Hellraiser.
That's crazy.
Pinhead actually just called in.
In the book, it's not. In the book, it's not nails.
No, what is it in the book? It's funny. I wasn't even.
Glass
I wasn't. We weren't even allowed to. We weren't allowed to. I watched Hellraiser much later in life because we used to go to Blockbuster or there's this place I used to go to in Kansas called Movie Gallery. That was cow themed, MOOVIE gallery.
No, I get it.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
Movie. You get it.
Yeah.
You get it, man.
Yeah.
This is quick. But we'd walk by that cover all the time, and I always wanted to watch that as a kid. And my parents were like, "No, it has hell in the name, and it looks evil." And
That's funny. My parents are pretty religious, and my dad's actually a deacon, and I saw it because my dad wanted to see it. We would go every time we went to the store. He'd be like, "I want to see that Hellraiser movie." I was always surprised that he wanted to rent it.
yeah,
And we did, and we liked it. No, I'm wrong. In the book, it is pins or nails or whatever, but he's not the leader. The female Cenobite is the leader in the book. And when the movie came out, there was such a fan reaction to Pinhead that he suddenly became the sort
guy.
of face for the thing.
Yeah.
But he's a very, very almost superfluous character in the book. He's just...
Isn't that weird how that happens whenever things get like moved over to TV or film? Like, especially, I don't know how much of like Walking Dead you watched when it was on.
None really.
But some of the fans were definitely upset with just the direction that they took certain characters who they either kept way longer than originally, like in the comic book, or that they decided to kill like in a different way or whatever.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah, well, I went through about one season of that, and then I got bored. I was like, this is way more of a soap opera than it is a show about zombies. But I had already kind of hit my zombie. I can't anymore. It's just...
Do you have a favorite more recent zombie movie? Do you like any of like the... What was it? What was the Brad Pitt one?
World War Z?
World War Z, or like an I Am Legend with Will Smith.
I like I Am Legend. I think of that a bit more in the vein of vampires than zombies, but I like I Am Legend. I like all the versions of I Am Legend.
Did you like the what's it called, Maggie with Schwarzenegger? Did you see that?
I started watching it. I thought it was a little boring, and I never finished it.
It's slow, but it was all right.
Yeah,
his acting is actually like a little bit better than some of the other movies that he's been in.
Well, you know what's funny? Schwarzenegger's a good actor. It's just like he kind of gets... I don't think a lot of people recognize it because he's made some bad action movies. He made some great ones too. But it's like if you watch Twins, you're like, this guy's fucking great. Mm-hmm. Like this is the Terminator, and he's fucking like, I believe 100% that he's got like this, this like 14-year-old kid's enthusiasm. I feel like Schwarzenegger could have been in Big.
Oh.
And like been as convincing as Tom Hanks. Like when I watch Twins, that's how I feel.
Gotcha. Well, Twins is no stopper. My mom will shoot, but don't get
that's
me started
Stallone,
on that.
Though.
I know.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. That movie. It's just a silly, fun movie that I remember watching.
I didn't see World War Z, but my friend Max wrote the book, and it's funny.
I enjoyed it quite a bit
because I've discussed zombies with Max. And he is not a fan of running zombies. And he says this very publicly. Like, he says it, he'll do panels about zombie horror fiction or whatever.
Why is he not a fan?
He said because it's just stupid at that point. Because I don't know if he used the word stupid, but he just didn't. He said, like, it takes, if they can just run and catch you, then who cares? Basically, like, the cool thing, and this is what my friend Jim loves about zombies, too. The cool thing is if you have a fighting chance. But there are so many of them that you can be overpowered if you don't stay on your toes. That's, to a lot of zombie fans, what's interesting about them. I don't mind running zombies. If it's done right, Return of the Living Dead is the movie that introduced the concept. And I think that that's a masterpiece of a film. But I think they just happened to pull it off correctly. They made 3 sequels to that movie that are all basically unwatchable. And I didn't really like the 28 Days Later films or...
Night of the Living Dead is that's the original, right?
Night of the Living Dead is the original, and then the 2 guys that wrote it were George Romero.
Right.
And I forget the other guy's name, but the other guy retained the rights to the title, anything that said Living Dead. So he went off and made Return of the Living Dead based on a book that he wrote as a sequel, and George Romero made Dawn of the Dead. And then
right.
Day of the Dead, and so on and so on.
Dawn of the Dead was a shopping mall, correct?
Yeah. Dawn of the Dead is arguably the greatest zombie movie ever made.
It's really good.
Yeah, and it's like you're never... And the remake was great, too, and that was running zombies. But you just never... That's what I mean. Like, you can't... Like with a vampire or a werewolf or a ghoul or somebody who's possessed or whatever... You can put them in a million different scenarios and go, oh, I never saw that before. You look at like the exorcism. It's like The Exorcist. It's like it's a girl chained to her bed because she's possessed by the devil. Then you look at The Omen Part 3, and it's the Antichrist, but he's a powerful politician. He's going to take over the world. Mm-hmm. There's different ways that you can do it. Zombies are zombies. It's like, yeah, they walk around or they run around and they want to eat you.
Not so much a horror film, but I love the movie The Devil's Advocate.
I love that movie.
And I also like The Ninth Gate. Is it The 10th Gate?
Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
I own that movie. it's got moments that I really enjoy, and then overall, I think it's kind of bad.
Too cheesy.
It's weird. It's
a
hard
weird
to get a
one.
beat on. Yeah,
It's a weird
it's almost
one.
like a comedy, but it's like
Some of the reveals in it are like, what is this?
Yeah.
Let's get into this next segment. Fanning out.
Fanning out. Questions from fans.
I reached out to some people online and asked them if they could ask Joe DeRosa any question. What would it be? And we got some great ones. I like this one a lot, actually. At Jake3130 on Instagram asks, what is your best or worst Comedy Cellar table moment? Oof. That's somebody who really.
You know what? I'm going to say one that I've never talked about publicly, that because it's just so funny. Jermaine Fowler and Keith Robinson once. I was wearing a pea coat, a navy blue pea coat. And you know, pea coats have those big buttons. And they made fun of the buttons on my pea coat for 20 straight minutes, and to a point where it became hurtful. Like I was like, I couldn't even wrap my head around how it was happening. I was like, how did they get this many jokes out of buttons being too big? And how is this starting to hurt my feelings? They're talking about buttons, but I was like, that's the magic of this fucking place. Like, you can take anything and turn it into an Achilles heel weakness. Like, it was masterful.
Well, that's what I love about comedy clubs and just like the camaraderie that goes on there is like, it doesn't matter what level you get to. If your friends are there, they're going to check you on even little appearance things. Like, it could be a new shirt that you like and you think that looks good, that has, a pocket on it or something, and then it's just like, oh, we're going in on that pocket for the next 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. So that was an awesome one. I always reminisce about that one. It makes me really, really laugh.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
At Mostly Sorry, my buddy Joel Jimenez, drummer on Kill Tony, asks, what's your favorite Twilight Zone episode?
Ooh, the Howling Man, which is about a group of monks that live out in the mountains or something, and they have a man in the cell who's howling at the moon, and they say that he's the devil and that he can't be let out. And of course, the wanderer that shows up at the castle doesn't believe that.
Did you say monks?
Yeah, but not those kind of monks. Like,
What kind of monks do you mean?
like creepy monks. Yeah, more like that. Yeah, more like that. Yeah.
Joe, we know all about you.
Yeah, more like that. More like that.
We are all knowing.
What's weird is not the voice or the bit. It's you staring at me while speaking into a microphone. Like the direct eye contact that you make when you do the phone calls.
Direct eye
No.
contact. Why not?
That's the hard part about it.
What if I look more into the lens? Is that better for you?
Much. I've never been big on eye contact. I believe that people should be shameful looking down all the time. You know?
Well, that's a good thing you're a comedian then.
Yeah.
Whenever you do sets, do you kind of look over the audience? Do you not like make strong eye contact with the people in the crowd?
I'll make it and then I'll quickly break it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do more of a general, in all directions kind of thing. But if I'm talking to somebody,
yeah.
I will. I'm not a
Yeah,
fucking lunatic.
A psycho, yeah.
Yeah, but
Hello, Joe. It's nice to have this conversation with you.
it is nice.
Oh, now the monks aren't even looking at you. You made them shy, Joe.
Well, good. They've got a devil to tend to. They've got bigger fish to fry.
How did you know what we're having for lunch?
Because that's all monks eat is fish.
The monks
and bread,
just
I
eat fish
believe.
and bread, I guess. 5 loaves and 2 fish, dude.
Yeah.
At Great Pole Knoll on Instagram, what's a fight that you got into that you instantly regretted?
Jesus Christ.
That's an interesting one, right?
Yeah, at Christmas once I yelled. I
Here
yelled
we
at
go.
my mom. My mom came. This is terrible. I'm really embarrassed. My mom and dad got me a GameCube for Christmas once.
Heck yeah.
But my mom didn't get me any games.
It was just the console.
It was just the console, and I was like, and she's like, I didn't get you any games. They were like $50. Those. That's nuts. And I fucking flipped out. And I was like, what did you think? What am I supposed to do with it? And I got in this huge fight with my parents. And then I regretted that like almost instantly. As soon as I started it, I was like, uh-oh. I think I bit off a little more than I should have.
Because how old were you?
Oh, in my 20s.
Yeah?
Yeah, I wasn't a kid. I was old.
So it wasn't.
It makes me cringe to even mention it.
Dude, that is so funny. So also, a lot of times with the consoles, there would at least be one game that came with it, and this was a situation where it did not come with even one.
The only game it came with was a disc, which is now worth a considerable amount of money for collectors. I got rid of it almost immediately, but it was a disc that had a playable demo of the new Zelda that was coming out.
Okay.
So I think you could play for like 10 minutes. And then like ports of the original 2 Nintendo Zelda games. So the 2 games you could play were the games from 3
Forever
consoles
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
It was a real bummer. And then my mom was like, the next day when I apologized, I was like, oh, I was really out of line. I'm sorry. And she was like, me too. Let's go get you tomorrow. You go get a game. Like I was a little child. It's embarrassing, but that's a real scar on my record.
Dude, I love that. That's amazing. That's a great story.
I just couldn't wrap my head around it. I couldn't wrap my head around
Lobbing for that big of a gift and then being like, well, yeah, I'm not gonna get the.
Well, and it wasn't a big because it was on the way. They were on the way out, so they were only $100.
Oh, gotcha.
They'd been dropped to $100, and I remember that's why I was like, Mom, the GameCubes are only $100 because she asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I was like, I'd love the GameCube. It's only $100 now, and one of these games would be awesome. So I just couldn't even wrap my fucking head around it.
What? You got me a hammer, but there's no nails to hang these pictures around.
Yeah, it was a real blue ball, man. But I will tell you, I loved the shit out of that GameCube, and I made that very clear to my mom, and I played it constantly, and she saw how much I appreciated it. So that was good.
Like you hear your mom coming in from the other room, you're like, scurrying to put it on. You're like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah, I love it. See, I love it.
it's so good.
Yeah. So anyway,
What's your favorite GameCube game?
my favorite GameCube game was Resident Evil 4, which when it first came out was exclusively for the GameCube, and it revolutionized the survival horror genre. It was an amazing, amazing game. Still in my top 5 of all time.
Of all time?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
This is a funny one. At Quick Sandhum on Instagram, ask him to share one weird thing about his buddy Bill Burr, or a story or something. Whatever.
No. A fucking gossip rag. These fucking questions these people ask. Go ask Bill if he wants to tell you a weird thing.
You hear that?
God.
Any do you want to share a good memory with Burr?
Now that question annoyed me.
All right. Moving on. This is one good thing, one good thing about this episode in particular. It's been challenging me to up my hosting skills.
Why am I not talking enough?
No. I think you are a guest that definitely goes a little against the grain.
Well, I hate when you do a thing
Right.
for you.
Right.
And then
they make it about something else.
yeah, like I remember I was promoting a record once and
Yeah.
these guys kept asking me about what it was like to be on Louis.
Oh yeah.
And then they started asking me about like how does he shoot the episodes? And I go, guys, go fucking interview Louis. I don't know.
You're working on your
I'm trying
your
to
record.
sell a fucking record right now.
Speaking of, you have a Sirius XM record that's out right now.
Yes. It's called I Go to Atlanta All the Time, live from the Earl. And it's exclusively on Sirius XM Raw Dog.
There was a lot of questions that were, how often do you go to Atlanta? There literally was a lot of questions that were like the same question, but from different users. They were like, how often do you go to Atlanta?
Do you know why?
No, you're telling me.
Well,
why.
that's not really why.
No, okay.
The album is called that for a reason.
Okay.
I was on Pete Dominic's radio show, which is a political show, and we were really, really arguing to the point where I called him a cunt on the air twice. It got pretty ugly. But we started arguing about Atlanta, and I go, my fucking best friend lives in Atlanta. Like, why are you talking down to me about Atlanta? I go there 4 times a year easily. Why are you talking down to me about Atlanta as if you understand the place as well as? And he goes, I go to Atlanta all the time, like that. And then Okerson and Soder from the Bonfire took that, and now it's a drop on their show.
Oh.
So they have 2 drops now. One is Pete doing that, or 2 new drops. One is Pete doing that and me going, and then one's me going, because you're a cunt.
Oh, they play. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny.
So I was right after that happened. I was going to Atlanta to record, and I was backstage in between shows, and I was just like, why am I not calling this record I Go to Atlanta all the time? So then I did. So then, like, a lot of fans were like, dude, that's really funny, man.
That's hilarious.
That's really funny. And then the fight happened on his show at Sirius XM, and the record's exclusively for Sirius XM.
Oh, man.
So it's a real inside.
And Bonfire is on Sirius XM.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's this weird rabbit hole of a joke, which I'm a big fan
It's
of.
basically my gift to everybody that works there. that knows about the incident, cares about the incident, and would find out about this record and laugh. Like that's the only, and then the fans too. But like, I was like, for the people that will get this one, which will not be a ton, that's really worth it. And I did record it in Atlanta, so it was my second record I did there. So I was like, yeah, it makes sense. That makes enough sense.
I gotta tell you, so we've done a lot of shows together over the years, whether it be Roast Battle, the Comedy Jam.
Yeah.
You've done my show, Stand Up on the Spot. You've done Kill Tony. You've done most of the shows that I've been a part of.
I want to come back to that, by the way.
Yeah, I need to get you back on that.
Yeah, because I like that show because it's got a hook, but I don't have to prepare anything.
Yeah.
I get annoyed with these shows where they're like, hey, you want to do our show? It's called Rabbit Ears. You got to dress up as a rabbit and pretend you're a rabbit and do stand-up as a rabbit. And I'm like, no, I'm not spending hours creating a thing that I do for 5 minutes once on your show. I know you're trying to sell a TV show. I'm not doing it. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
You didn't hear. Rabbit Ears actually just got picked up, so
I
you
know.
should have signed on to do that. So I've watched, I've been a part of the Roast Battle for a long time, almost like 5 years, about as long as it's been going on for over 5 years. I think I've been involved almost 5 years with the show.
Nice.
You have one of my favorite battles. Your battle with Sarah Tiana is in my top 10 most memorable battles. Yes.
How come?
Because the relationship and the way you guys told the jokes at each other was so funny and real to me that it was literally like, it felt like an episode of Jerry Springer or something. How you guys delivered the rebuttals and everything, you could tell how well you guys knew each other. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, especially in the more recent roast battles, there will be people who are just wanting to battle. There's not, you know what I mean? There's not a true incentive like, nah, it's a buddy. I want to, bang it out with them on the stage or whatever.
No, Sarah's a friend. I love Sarah, and it was great doing that with her. I would only ever do it that way. The one time I did it, I did it twice without a friend. I did Mike, what's his name from Canada? Mike Ward.
Yeah.
And that worked. And then I tried to go against Jimmy Carr, and I couldn't.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that you were in, whenever we were in Montreal, you were that first year that we did the Roast Masters Invitational was what it was called that year. Yeah.
And I
forgot that you went up against Jimmy Carr that year.
I couldn't get a joke off, which ended up being funny in and of itself. Me yelling at the audience and everything, because to me he's a hard guy to roast. But I'm friends with Jimmy now. But it's like at the time I didn't even know him, and I'm like, here's this.
It's hard to write.
Good-looking guy in a suit that I don't even know what to fucking say to him.
Right.
Like, so it's easier when you have a friend that you have some personal business with that you can draw from. Otherwise, had I gone against Sarah without knowing her personally, I would have like, she seems like a nice, pretty person. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, but that's why I don't really do the battles anymore, because there's never any guarantee. I like judging them.
You're a good judge, though.
Yeah. But there's just never any guarantee that you're going to be matched with somebody you know and love and whatever. So it's like, I was like, okay, well, it's not fair for me to say, I'll do it if it's this, this, and this, and give requirements or whatever. It's ridiculous. So I just stick to judging it once in a while now.
Let's get into this final segment, Sax Talk. Oh, Sax Talk.
That's great, because I got to pee real bad. But I can hold it until the sax is done. My lips are so chapped right now.
So Joe is going to share a story of a sexual encounter, and I'm going to play some sweet, sweet saxophone underneath while he does it. And I will follow you whenever you are ready, pal.
Okay. Tell me when. Oh, you ready? I was hooking up in my car. I was staying with my parents because my mom was recovering from cancer. Isn't this story sexy? She's okay now. She's fine. But and this was well after I yelled about the GameCube. I'm not a complete asshole. Anyway, I was staying with my parents, let my mom get back on her feet after she went through a bout with cancer. And I had a date one night after I'd been sort of in the house with her and my dad for many, many weeks. And we couldn't hook up at my place, because my place was, at the time, was my parents' place. And she lived too far away or something. We couldn't go to, I can't remember why. But anyway, we went down to the local park to fool around like a couple of horny teens. And then the cops showed up. I thought I was going to get busted. And I was like, this is so embarrassing. Like, I'm a grown man. I'm going to get in trouble by the police for like hooking up in the park. Like, oh my God. And the cops went right past our car and instead wrangled up a bunch of kids who were smoking weed that I didn't even see, like, across the park from us. So we saved by the kids smoking weed. We got away clean. Got away clean. And as I like to say, you live to fuck another day. And I say that every day, regardless of what the story is.
That's actually your moniker.
It is. And it is sewn into all my clothing.
Yeah.
Family crest style.
Well, that's got to be a good feeling of relief, thinking that you're about to get busted, and then you're like, those kids over there.
That was great. We just stepped on
then
it and
went
got the
right
fuck out.
back to it.
We did. We found another dark place.
Did you find another
to go.
dark place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, because my boy Joe DeRosa keeps getting it in, dog. That's what. Gotta get that in before it turns into a pumpkin at the end of the night. Yeah.
Well, dude, this is fun.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Good. Heck yeah.
I hope you believe me.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
I don't emote a ton. I know.
Sometimes the tone in your voice is you throw like lines out there, like they just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like
right.
It's like a cadence thing.
Right.
So it's sometimes hard to take you seriously or not.
No. I very much had fun.
Oh, good. Outside of your album, which is available on Sirius now, what else you want to plug? We'll See You in Hell on the Starburns audio network, and then also, it's out there on iTunes and all that shit. And if you're in Philly, I'm headlining the Punchline Thanksgiving weekend. So I'll be there Friday and Saturday, 2 shows each night. Go to Philly, get a Jim's cheesesteak, and then head over and see Joe DeRosa. Thanks for doing the pod, buddy. Oh my God, dude! Can I pee? I have to pee so bad. He's gonna go pee now. Oh, thanks. Jeremiah,